and after that we can have question and answers for about 15-20 minutes. Thank you. Please, Agarwalji.
Yeah. Thank you, Shri Kanak Sabhapati ji, for giving me this opportunity and inviting me to this important meeting, post-budget discussion for the our friends, colleagues, and party cadre from Tamil Nadu. I would like to welcome all of them, all the people who have joined, and wish them convey my good wishes to all of them from the party, Bharatiya Janata Party. And I would also like to thank Indian Economic and Cultural Center, who have today organized this important event. The whole team, I would like to convey my thanks, sincere thanks. And the first time I'm using this this software, and I found the whole feel is wonderful. I have attended and spoken in hundreds and hundreds of platforms in last 2-3 years, even international seminars also. But I found that this is a very good platform. Kanak Sabhapati ji had told me about this, but this is my first experience, so I must congratulate you for this wonderful IT initiative. And I think this will be one of the milestone, Kanak Sabhapati ji, on the IT initiative of the government, Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yes.
It's an important initiative under the Atmanirbhar Bharat, and I would definitely recommend it to my friends and colleagues and professionals who are very active on this media. So, friends, with this opening remark, I would like to start my deliberation on the budget 2022-23. This is an important budget, friends, which has been announced on 1st February, 2-3 days back. And before I start my deliberation on the budget, a brief note I would like to present before you, something which is the economic overview of the country, because this budget is a yearly exercise, and it should never be seen in isolation, because we had a big pandemic, COVID pandemic had many disruptions, and post-pandemic economic recovery was a big challenge. The government came out with Atmanirbhar Bharat package, and it came out with various fiscal stimulus packages. And globally also many countries faced this pandemic. They also had certain packages and stimulus packages, and it was a global worry, including India worry, post-pandemic, how those disruptions which have affected the economy, how those challenges are being met. What I would like to just not go into detail of the earlier Atmanirbhar package, but what I would like to say is post-pandemic, due to the government initiative, particularly on the economic front, major macroeconomic parameters are fundamentally strong. And that is because of the certain strong steps and right steps taken by the government to deal with this crisis. And just I would like to mention only two things. At that time, we have come out with a large fiscal stimulus package where money was transferred to the lower strata, including certain loan provisions and other support, fiscal stimulus, PLI, all those schemes, where money was given to the support through credit and other means to the industries and infrastructure and other things. At that time, our government had a lot of pressure that we should go for large scale printing of currency, and we should go for helicopter money, means pushing money into the hands of people just by printing money. And global major economies did this thing. And today I am happy to share for you that because we did not resort to, in spite of all the pressures of going for printing of money and helicopter money, short of that, we did everything. We relaxed the fiscal deficit. We went for large scale money transfer to the lower strata of people. We went for credit guarantee and manufacturing sector support under PLI, and we kept our fiscal stimulus packages different sectors in a graded manner, on a sequential manner, where the sector would have the maximum leverage position for money multiplier effect. Those sectors were initially supported, etc. And because of that, in spite of all things, but when we did not resort to printing of money, the inflation, a major concern globally at this present time, is not that much a concern in India. Our inflation is well within the RBI stated limit of 6%. It is at present 5.6, and next year's target is, in the budget, it was announced that 5.4% will be the inflation. CPI, I am talking basically. WPI is a concern where commodity price, manufacture, steel, cement, base metal, etc., is a concern which we call as imported inflation. But CPI, consumer price index, where daily use product, food, fruits, vegetables, and other small items are included, their inflation is under control. And even America is facing a huge inflation. And we had pushed the liquidity into the whole business ecosystem. Because of huge inflation in European countries and America, now post pandemic, they have to suck the liquidity. And when they are withdrawing the liquidity from the system, the inflation will be much more challenge than what our central bank has a challenge in this point of time. So, as far as liquidity, sucking of liquidity and catching up with the inflation, our central bank and government is much in a much better position than many major global economies, including developed economies. This is one point that I would like to underline, that the government, because of this position, right direction of Atmanirbhar Bharat package, our macroeconomic fundamentals, inflation, fiscal deficit is slightly higher, but that is under control. I'll talk about fiscal deficit, etc. Our FDI is very high. Our foreign exchange reserves are high. We are seeing a GDP growth rate in higher single digit growth rate on a sustainable basis. So these things are well entrenched, and our economy is poised for a post-recovery leap. Before this budget, we had identified certain challenges, and in this budget, we have tried to catch up with those challenges and rectify them. Before the budget, also the FM had a very long meeting with various stakeholders on the party, state party representatives, and she had a discussion for more than two, 2.5 hours, where various written representations were received by us. We coordinated them directly. FM was discussing them. Then finally, we consolidated the recommendation, and I had sent the report to the finance minister. So the challenges were well identified. Those challenges have been met in this budget. One, I said that the inflation was certain challenge that was tackled. The fiscal deficit was another challenge. MSME sector needed further support, that has been tackled. And then infrastructure support was also required. Everybody wanted that the capex expenditure on the capital side expenditure, the government should continue, because private consumption, because of disruptions in the informal economy, is not that robust as is required for attracting private investment. So this background, I'll start the budget. This background is very important. Another point on ideological front also I would like to tell you is because I look after the economic affairs of the party, that also I would like to underline is that Bharatiya Janata Party believes is a right to center party. Our ideology on the economic front, on Arthik viewpoint, is that we consider business community industries as an important part of national development. We do not shy and we do not talk about the people that business community industrialists we do not shy to be associated with them because we consider them that important part of the economic development, growth, and nation building. Second, on the economic ideological front, I would like to underline is that as a philosophy, we believe that market efficient and transparent and corruption free market are the best mechanism of allocation of resources. And if you look into the last 7 years, many of the initiative of our government on the economic front have been based on creating transparent ecosystem, technological driven ecosystem on service delivery, etc. And compliance is also, technology is being hugely used, and corruption free, transparent, technological driven ecosystem, so that market are efficiently functioning is there. And the third important part of our economic ideology is, which I think Kanak Sabhapati ji must be talking about, you must have all heard, is Antyodaya. The benefit of the economic progress and growth should go to person in the society. So Antyodaya, market-friendly economy, considering business and industries as part of nation building, are three basic points that I wanted to clarify. In addition to many other things must be there. In this budget, when the FM talked in the initial that we at present are in the 75th year of our independence, and what she told that this is a budget for India at 75. And what I call, I had written also many articles post budget or before budget, is that this budget is a blueprint to the roadmap of what we want to achieve by 2047, when we will complete our 100 years of independence. And this 25 years is called the Amrit Kal, as has been said in the finance minister and the prime minister, that this 25 years in Amrit Kal, where if we have take the right decisions now, it is not that this budget will be taking steps which go for 25 years. Some people have been criticizing that you are talking of 25 years. We have talked about 25 years, and this budget built a base to reach to that objective of a strong and economic superpower in India. Atmanirbhar Bharat, Swabhimani Bharat, economic superpower, which is respected by the global community, which can attract global investment into the country, which is a transparent economic corruption-free ecosystem. And this budget lays the foundation stone for that Amrit Kal. So the next point I would like to underline is that some points extensions I will not go into very detail into many points, which you can ask in your questions if somebody has any questions for those points. The second important part was that for creating demand and economic growth and employment generation, and creating a good ecosystem of ease of doing business, ease of living, four things were important: ease of doing business, ease of living, attracting foreign investment, and creating demand in the economy, so that it can attract investment from private sector and global investors also. The government, its big push on infrastructure development. That is the underlying factor of this budget. That government has continued with its massive outreach expenditure, increasing the expenditure on infrastructure creation, which will bring all these four, five desired results, including reducing the cost of transportation for finished good and the raw material. because ultimately industries will prosper when transport cost of transportation is reduced. Through Gati Shakti initiative, 7 items of Gati Shakti, government has tried to achieve all these objectives. Reduction in cost of transportation is expected to the tune of 4 to 5%. It's a massive reduction in cost of manufacturing. In addition to do ease of doing business, in addition to do ease of living, in addition to put push money into the hands of the people, so that through the means where it will propel and catalyze economic development through creation of demand, etc. And what the finance minister and I have been talking is, this is the method of cloud in of private investment. When there is a huge expenditure from the government, the demand itself will rise and the private investor will come, because there is demand in the economy. At the same time, this creation of infrastructure in rural areas through Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and various schemes, the money will flow to the rural and regional and geographical outreach areas, where also uh, informal sector, construction industry will develop, other industries will develop, so that informal sector labor also gets money into the whole system. So Gati Shakti is an important initiative, and only one figure I'll quote is that last year we had increased the infrastructure investment to the tune of 26%. Again, this year, under the Gati Shakti infrastructure development, we have increased the capex expenditure of the government, including PSUs, in central government, to the tune from 5.5 lakh crore to 7.5 lakh crore. It's a massive increase of 35% in one single year. It is a budget for this year. This is a massive increase in expenditure. And uh, we have on the federal sector, I know Tamil Nadu is governed by a different party. There has been no discrimination with any state in any of the schemes of the government. In addition to central government spending, our budget has announced 1 lakh crore of 50 years of tax free, interest free loan for state governments for capital expenditure. And together with 1 lakh crore of state increased expenditure, 7.5 lakh crore of central expenditure and PSUs, the total expenditure on um, uh, infrastructure development under Gati Shakti is 10.68 lakh crore. If you compare with some of the figures some decades back, you will find that it was capital expenditure used to be to the tune of 30,000, 40,000 crores. It's a massive increase that we are doing, and this will create a big boost in the economy. Second point that is very important for particularly all of us is that earlier majority of investment on urbanization was taking place in 5 6 cities. In this budget, urbanization is the second important focus of our government. We are doing a massive infrastructure, massive development of tier 2 and 3 cities, including planning, sanitation, water availability, metro transportation. And I tell you, I am a student of economics. I have been working in economic and with the government agencies and other things. The growth of any country will lie from tier 2 and tier 3 cities for us. I have seen how Nagpur has developed. I have seen how Hyderabad has been developing, though it has become a large city. How Noida is developing, Jaipur, Pune, Dehradun, these small cities, Trivandrum, Cochin, these tier 2 and tier 3 cities are the cities where the growth will lie. And these cities will attract huge talent from even across countries, across people. For their government has given allocation for setting up digital 5 digital universities in addition to metro and other things I have said. So this urbanization will be the second of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, will be the second most important factor which will propel the growth of the country. And in the under the Gati Shakti, I would just like to mention that the seven aspect that I was talking was road connectivity, railway connectivity, waterways, airways, airports, metro. All this connectivity will be very important. The third point that I fourth point that I would like to say is that first was Amrit Kal, Gati Shakti, urbanization, capex increase, and the fourth point that I would like to underline in this budget is, in spite of increasing massive expenditure from revised estimate of 37.5 lakh crore to 39.6 lakh crores in this budget, which in last year's budget was around 35 point something. In the revised estimate, it has come to 37.5 lakh crores, and now in this budget, it is 39.6 lakh crores. In spite of hugely increasing government expenditure, including social security, infrastructure development, etc., there has been no change on the tax rates. That's very important, because people are saying that government needs fund to for fighting post COVID. They should go for wealth tax, gift tax, so many things. We have desisted from any increase in any tax. And this, I say that this is not a something very heartening to say, but I would add with this figure is that we, over the last 2 3 years, we have increased corporate tax and startup ecosystem drastically. Corporate tax has been reduced to 22%, and even startup and new industries, any new industry setup, manufacturing setup, the tax is has been reduced to 15% plus surcharge. That is one part. And in spite of that, the direct tax collection has improved in this budget. And therefore, I say that we have not, we had reduced taxes, but we have this year, we have desisted from any increase. The second important point I would like to underline is, some people say that you are reducing taxes for corporate sector. I would like to say is, when GST was envisaged, Arvind Subramaniam committee, he was heading the committee which has suggested certain rates, etc., on the GST. They have suggested, you can Google and find, they had suggested an net neutral revenue rate of under GST 15 to 15.5% range. And I tell you, you should mark it to the people of the country. At present, GST, indirect tax, which is very important for the common man, weaker sections, and every sections of the society, because we are a consumer society where consumption is important, is 11.6%. So those who say that only corporate tax has been reduced, is they are wrong. Under indirect tax, we have reduced GST much below the rate which was envisaged in 2016 by a very important committee, and average GST rate at this point is 11.6%. And that is the reason why our CPI, commodity prices, small food items, etc., milk, food, daily consumption item, is low. So both direct indirect tax have been reduced, had been reduced drastically, and government has desisted from any increase in the taxes or imposing any new kind of tax, but has not shied away from increasing its expenditure hugely. So these two together, if you see these 3 points, you will understand how important our budget, this year's budget, is. It is because of our continuous effort on plugging the leakages into that revenue collection, plugging the leakages into the delivery mechanism, that we have achieved this desired result. So this is very important. And second point I would like to mention here is, those who are students of economics and business committees, the people were worried कि last year for fighting pandemic, we had expanded the fiscal deficit, and it was at 6.9%. People were thinking that many economists were suggesting that you should for fiscal consolidation, reduce the fiscal deficit, but we desisted from this. We thought that we fiscal consolidation is important, but government continuing its expenditure is much more important, and therefore we should consolidate economy on a gradual basis. A fiscal consolidation should take place in a gradual basis, and this year's target has been kept at 6.4%, and the final fiscal consolidation target in 2025 has been kept at 4.5%. So this is also an important part economic parameters which gives strength to the continuous expenditure, gives support to this thinking that government will continue its expenditure in the future also. And we are seeing a tax buoyancy in collection. This month's January tax collection under GST has surpassed all since its inception, and it is more than 1,40,000 crores. That gives the heartening impact. It will give more resources to the states also, because they also have a strong share in the devolution. Almost 42% of the tax collection is devolved. Even direct tax collection is very buoyant. 25% increase in direct tax collection was seen in spite of both reduction in taxes, and this will further continue. Many people are saying that we should have estimated a much buoyant tax collection figures in our budget, but we desisted for a conservative approach. We have taken that the reasonable growth in tax, direct and indirect tax collection, that's it also very important heartening factor. For the taxpayers, I would like to mention, for the common man, many things are being said. I would like to say that infrastructure, ease of living, urbanization, availability of water, availability of houses, building of railways, roadways, everything, this is basically for the common man. This is also create an ease of living for everyone. This will create employment. This will create attract investment. Ultimately, things will economy revival of the economy will be benefited from this. So on the tax compliances, I would like to mention just two things. Is that the government has because certain classes, people were saying that there is certain kind of harassment or in the tax, the government has announced that for 2 years, if because digital filing of returns is taking place and transparency is being brought by virtual assessment and GST returns, etc., etc. So people were saying that certain errors happen. The government has given a window of 2 years for rectifying, self-rectification of any error or anything which is missed out by the assessee. They can rectify their assessment. Second is the department used to go continuously. There is certain assessment is taking place for any assessees, and there is certain if there is a law dispute on any factual law aspect and the pending court case, court and Supreme Court. Earlier, what the department used to do, again in the next year, on the same law issue, they will again assess the assessee on that basis. Then you have to again file for a different litigation. The government has said the department cannot file any other assessment in the coming year till the point of law is settled in the High Court and the Supreme Court. If any point of law is under dispute or any case is going on any point of law, the department has to wait till that judgment comes. So this is also a very important part to for the assessee not to get harassed. Third point I would like on this tax compliance is, over the years, we have reduced 25,000 compliances for various business and corporate sector or different assessment sector. 25,000 compliances have been done away with. In last 2 years, 1,500 laws which were redundant have been done away with, and we will continue with this process. So tax compliances that I wanted to say, fiscal consolidation I have mentioned. The seventh important point that I would like to mention here is for cooperative, because we see a big growth with Amit Shah ji heading a cooperative ministry, which is a new ministry. As a government, we consider cooperative movement to be a strong growth element for the rural economy and the growth of economy. And farmer producer organization is a big initiative under that thing. So for cooperative and farmer producer organization, our government in this budget has reduced the surcharge, which was a minimum alternative tax on cooperatives from 18.5% to 15%. And even surcharge has been reduced from 12% to 7%. The cooperative farmer producer organization. And the third, which will get the benefit, huge benefit, is there are small business entities, MSME, small businesses. That what they do is sometimes they form a consortiums, association of persons, to file for certain tenders, apply for certain tenders, or come out for manufacturing, because we are opening a defense sector hugely for private sector, MSME sectors, for manufacturing. There they form a consortium, so for technology upgradation, financial collection, etc. For those associations, we have reduced, there was a surcharge of 37%. That surcharge has been reduced from 37% to 15%. So even global, our domestic manufacturing industries form a consortium to go for global tendering for any other global tender. There also this benefit will be given. So this is an important initiative that I wanted to underline. Eighth, because I will cover 10 points. The eighth point is about, we consider that MSME will be the growth problem. Manufacturing sector is the area where India's growth can come. If you look into the American history or etc., manufacturing sector, particularly MSME sector, has contributed hugely to the growth of America. And India, over the years, manufacturing was not finding that favor, was not finding that support which it should have got. In last 7 years, our major initiative had been to support manufacturing, and in that MSME sector, and we had targeted that the MSME and manufacturing sector's contribution to the GDP should be increased from 15% to 25%. In this pandemic, MSME and small business manufacturing units had a big problem, disruptions. So in this, we had come out in the Atmanirbhar Bharat about credit guarantee, so that they could have a easy and a loan from the banks for tide out this disruption. There was a demand that we should extend this credit guarantee for 1 more year, where they can get easy loan from the bank. Government has agreed to that and increased 1 year extension to credit guarantee scheme, which is hugely to the tune of almost 3 lakh crores. And in addition to that, the government has added a 50,000 crore additional credit guarantee line, particularly for the hospitality and the tourism industries. That was a big demand from many places. In addition to that, 2 lakh crore has been given as an additional credit guarantee, whose risk will be taken by the central government, so that banks do not shy away from extending credit. Another 2 lakh crore has been allocated particularly for the micro industries under the credit guarantee scheme. This is an important initiative for MSME support. And the thing is that 68% of the domestic defense production procurement has been earmarked and reserved only for our domestic manufacturers. This is a huge change. Majority of our defense requirement was getting imported. The government has, Modi ji has in this budget has reserved 68% of the defense procurement for our domestic manufacturing sector. So this will also hugely impact the MSME sector and micro and small businesses. And even in, I told you that I have mentioned about WPI, wholesale price index, where MSME was saying that because of increase in the cement, steel, and other commodity prices, which are used as a raw material, we had over the years some point of time increased the custom duties and excise duties on some of the parts, this basic metals and raw materials. In this budget, the FM has announced that we will rationalize them, reduce the duties. Steel has been reduced, import duty on the import of the steel has been reduced, which is used as the raw material for our manufacturing sector, particularly MSME sector, were feeling the pinch. And other commodity imports will also be rationalized. So WPI, which is at high level at this point, that will also be reduced. And further, it will, this reduction in base metals and raw materials import will further reduce the cost and help the MSME sectors. And even there has been a change in the IBC, Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. Certain changes are there because I am on the board of one of the regulatory body of the IBC company, Indian. So there, I would like will not go into the detail, but IBC is an important factor for creditable exit for failed business and respectable exit to some of the business where restructuring of the business can take place. So, and those businesses which fail were finding very difficult to exit that place. The government has reduced the time limit for liquidation under the IBC from 2 years to only 6 months. That is the big gap, 25% only for the time. And cross-border insolvency, there are certain changes. This will also help the manufacturing and MSME sectors. The last 10 point I would like to mention, in addition to PLI, 14 sectors are reducing huge support under the production linked incentive scheme, and that has been highly successful. And our manufacturing export, even including agriculture export, have increased because of the support of PLI, production linked incentives from the government. The government has committed itself to continue this. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which was a very successful scheme, another 50,000 crores has been allocated to that, so that 80 lakh new houses are built in the rural areas. So all the schemes on education, health, all those allocation continue as were earlier. No reduction in any of those social security schemes or anything, that continue. Therefore, some people are criticizing that that is not mentioned. That is already, we have not changed. We are talking, a budget is a 1 hour speech. You cannot take everything in the speech only. If you want to get into the detail, go to the budget document and find out. And if you have any queries, we will definitely tackle it. And still there are discussions. If there are certain points which you think are still to be analyzed, the budget, there is a 1 month process where we can tweak some of the changes that we can definitely convey those to the finance minister. She will definitely look into the matter. And on the farmers side also, I would like to say that certain people had been criticizing that what is there in the farmer side. I said you that basic, all these rural housing, rural Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, even warehousing in the capex expenditure, I had not mentioned that we will build warehousing, supply chain, all those things are there which will benefit the farmers and connect the farm to the market. In addition to that, one in the railways, I live in Uttar Pradesh. There is a very successful scheme in Uttar Pradesh of one district, one product scheme. There's Meerut is manufacturing sports equipment, Aligarh is manufacturing locks, Noida is manufacturing apparel, Muradabad is manufacturing this brass metal utensils, etc. So I'm just quoting because from UP, because we have focused for 5 years on this and developed those clusters, give them financial assistance, support them in marketing, technological innovation, etc. And they are seeing a huge recovery, because 2 days back I was in Aligarh. Earlier, the lock industry was getting closed one by one. Now it is reviving. So, in the same manner, on the railway infrastructure, where new rails, etc., and new corridors are being built, the government has announced that one station, one product scheme. Geospatial tagging of product for particular railway station is an important initiative which will benefit and take extend the benefit, which as an experiment we have done in Uttar Pradesh, one district, one product, one station, one product. So it will bring good support for those small town areas where food processing industry can be set up, where cottage industries can be set up, where different type of cluster development industries can set up, as Tirchur or the way cotton industry has been developed in Coimbatore, near Coimbatore, etc. So similar kind of thing can develop on the one station, one district. And last point I would like to mention is about the natural farming corridor. Our success in building freight corridors, industrial corridors, defense corridors has been hugely successful. That has helped develop industries very extensively. So Ganga is our sacred river. We had been trying to clean it for so many years. That was our commitment. What the Prime Minister has said, that we will build a natural farming corridor on both sides of the Ganga river. And the length of the river is around 2,500 kilometers from Gangotri basically to the Ganga Sagar. And all states, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Bengal, all these areas, even Assam, all these areas will benefit out of this natural farming agriculture corridor, where on 5 kilometers on both sides of Ganga river banks, 5 kilometer broad, 2,500 kilometers length, 5 kilometer broad on both banks of the Ganga river, natural farming without any chemical fertilizers, and organic farming setup will be supported by the government. So this will bring huge uh, uh, growth to the agriculture sector. So this I wanted to mention to all of you. This is a very important. There are initiatives on the digital economy, patenting, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, green environment technologies. All these initiative, digital currency is being initiatives. I can go on and on, but I think for the paucity of time, I would stop my initial remarks so that this discussion can further be taken up. Thank you for patiently hearing me out. Thank you.
Thank you, Agarwal ji. You have made an excellent presentation, beginning from Gati Shakti, urbanization. You have covered all the important points, and one or two very important observations you have made. The initially you gave the background for our economy, and later you said one or two important points as to how Modi government is undertaking lot of capital expenditure initiatives without taxing people, and this is very important. If we have to take it outside to people so that they will be able to understand this. So thank you very much. Now I ask my friend Mr. Jagannathan to coordinate this question and answer session. You yourself can ask him. He is an expert on financial markets also, Jagan. So you can ask him about stock markets also. Jagan,
Yes, sir. Namaste, sir.
No.
Namaste, Gopalji. Namaste, Professor, sir. And
Namaste.
namaste to all the audience from Indian Economic and Cultural Center who have watched this beautiful program. It has been a thoroughly immersive, budget immersive experience which Gopalji has presented. And we have had a thorough understanding of the budget thanks to you. And thank you, Professor Saab, for organizing this program and bringing Gopalji to this evening program by IECC. Some of our members have a few questions, sir. We'll
Yes.
start one by one. Sir, Mrs. Chandni asks how women empowerment will be benefited in the new budget.
Okay. So you can take 2-3 questions. I'll answer together.
Yes, sir. So is the government going to bring them under the tax net, or how is the government going to broaden the tax net?
ये second question किसका है?
One Mr. Anand Narasimhan.
आनंद जी. Okay. हाँ.
And one Mr. Anand Subramaniam has a question. Salaried persons, whether government or private, getting deducted and all their incomes are captured. But even after demonetization and digitization, we have not been able to broaden this again explains asks for a call for action for broadening the tax net.
Okay.
And then
fourth
one is that voting home is all the countries in the world despite matter. This outside the development. Yes, so broadly tax net increase and how we capture the income tax to a wider audience is the question, sir. And women empowerment and Atmanirbhar, broadly we understand there is one question about Atmanirbhar is self-reliance. We all understand that, and truly this budget has been a budget towards self-reliant India. The government's actions have been, all these PLI schemes, as you elaborated, has been in that direction, especially the COVID management. Maybe a few words on that would help.
Thank you. I'll take up this question. First, I'll take up the tax net because 3 people have asked basically on the tax net. I agree that many people are not paying tax in the country. But one thing I would like to clarify is it is only for direct tax that people are not paying. Indirect tax is being paid by everybody. Even a small girl child goes to a market and buys a pencil. There is an indirect tax component in it. And before 2017, this indirect tax was to the tune of almost not 2017, 2014, when we brought GST in 2016. The indirect tax was to the tune of 25 to 30%. And that indirect tax we have reduced, as I said on my presentation, that it has been reduced average tax revenue to 11.6%. So everybody in the country is paying tax, but direct tax is less. And if I gave you the tax buoyancy, tax to GDP ratio is low. So what I'll tell you one thing is, though there was a scope to increase the tax to GDP ratio to increasing the GST, at present we have desisted from it. There is ample scope in the increasing the GST because average net neutrality of tax rate was, we had announced in 2016, was 15 to 15.5%. That too from reducing it from around 25%. But still, we have desisted from this because there is an increased buoyancy of compliances under the GST. And that has come because when I talked about market economy, transparent use of technology, e-filing, etc., there is a big data collation. I am a chartered accountant also. If you see that under GST, you are filing return, under your bank account, the data is being exchanged between various platforms. Virtual assessment is being made online. Huge transaction, your bank transactions, your GST transactions, your the tax filing returns, etc. The government has been doing massive data collation where information exchange is taking place, and therefore all your purchases, etc., is being collated. So therefore automatically this tax compliances, etc., will become higher. And that is the result that in spite of our huge reduction in the direct and indirect tax, we are seeing a tax buoyancy. Further, we have given a 2 years window where any lapse or any error will be corrected, because now data we are automatically collating. If your bank account shows that your expenditure is there for some 10 lakh car has been purchased, but your return does not show the same kind of financial position, so that is being automatically looked into. So that is one thing we would like to further. And even in the virtual assessment there, because people, we want people to comply under tax but not get harassed, and same time there should be no corruption in the tax department. We know that there has been many reports about corruption being rampant in the department. Therefore we are putting it everything on online. No physical assessment, no physical hearing, and this is an important part. So one thing. And on the salary part also, I would like Mr. Subramaniam has asked, Mr. Anand, both Anand Subramaniam ji and I have asked. I tell you that if you look into the tax calculation till 15 lakh, it is almost very low tax, 15 lakh of income in the country, and 90% are people are below. Even I think 92% of our people which you mentioned, around 6 crore people are filing demand, 92% have filed below about 10, below 10 lakh of income. So 90% have filed above 15 lakh of income. So as it falls on, we will definitely look into the salaried class, and certain there has been issue that higher income people are being the rate at the higher income is very high. So on individual taxation there are issues which under discussion, but I tell you that more and more tax compliances will take place. On women empowerment, Chandni ji, I would just like to say is that various schemes, I will not go into repeating those schemes, but a Jan Dhan account, Ujjwala Yojana, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and this housing, even this, what I would like to mention, underline here is that the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, it has to be in joint name of the female spouse, both. So women are getting empowered, and I have seen the difference. I have moved to many villages, remote areas. The amount of difference this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is taking. And one more figure I would tell you is that MSP procurement, 2.37 lakh crore of MSP procurement in last year has been directly transferred to the bank account through Jan Dhan account. So women, I can give you many stories how women gender force is facing feeling this empowerment through Jan Dhan account. So various schemes are there, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, all those schemes are there that are being continued. As such, we had in the last budget also given certain consumption to women, accessories, etc. That is one thing. And infrastructure is the way, employment generation, etc. is the way that we think that everybody will benefit. The last fourth question is, I would very much clarify on this is, some people have a wrong notion that Atmanirbhar Bharat, definitely you have, Jagannatha ji said it is a self-reliant Bharat, Swabhimani Bharat, economic strong power Bharat, but it is not a closed Bharat. It is not something that we want to close our economy from the global growth. Atmanirbhar Bharat is a economic superpower Bharat where we will attract FDI. We want to integrate our manufacturing through global supply chain and regional supply chain, and therefore you see certain sectors like automobile industries, pharmaceutical industries have hugely benefited and seen huge growth, because our small industries have been linked to automobile component industries, linked because global manufacturing are procuring from our domestic manufacturers automobile parts. So we want to integrate our manufacturing sector to the global and regional supply chain, and therefore, though it is not part of our budget exercise, but we are working on our free trade agreement with USA, Europe, Australia, and UAE. Just one point I would underline is in 2010, before UPA government had signed FTA with 10 ASEAN countries. What happened was it had a very counter effect on our manufacturing sector, because those countries started exporting their manufacturing product to our country at a very zero tax rate, and that has hampered our domestic manufacturing. What we should have done is we should have gone into signing FTA with developed countries so that we can open our manufacturing sector to that market. And we have from 2016 system, we have done away with the FTA with the ASEAN countries, and we are opening our FTA with developed countries. We had desisted from signing RCEP with China, which would have further dealienated our manufacturing sector. And we are focused on making our manufacturing MSME sector competitive. And when I talked about logistic cost, reduction in logistic cost, our transportation cost is much higher in the global competition. So our power cost is much higher. Our land cost is much higher. So we have taken up digitization of land record, making the land banks available from the states, ease of doing business, contract enforcement, tax compliances. All these 10 factors of ease of doing business are being improved so that our domestic manufacturing becomes competitive, and we can integrate our manufacturing to European countries, and those countries which were impacting our manufacturing sector, we have stopped FTA free trade agreement with them. We have seen the success story of Bangladesh, how it has overtaken our domestic cloth industry, textile industries, because it had integrated its FTA with America and European countries. So we have taken this route. So Atmanirbhar Bharat is not a closed economy. We want PLI is the area where new industries and manufacturing sectors are taking place. I can give you example after example how startup ecosystems are developing. We are getting, for last 60 years, almost 70 years, we had only 9 unicorns in startup. Within this 5 years, we have seen 32 new unicorns. And when Kanak Sabhapati ji was saying that I am associated with the financial market also, 10 unicorns from that are from fintech industries. So Prime Minister has very emphatic on this new technologies, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, hydrogen power, renewable energy. All these new technologies will propel growth, and we will be global. Sometime this last month, we have opened, government has announced 76,000 crores of investment support to semiconductors. We have never looked towards Taiwan. Taiwan is a global leader in semiconductors. Semiconductor at present is used in everything, car, computer, hardware, software, many things. Semiconductor is the backbone of manufacturing sectors in the future. And Taiwan is the leader. We never had any good relations with, though it is technologically very sound. Government has particularly announced that 76,000 crores of support will be given to semiconductor industries. And how growth can take place. Pharmaceutical industry will become the global leader in the pharmaceutical industries. Vaccination, we have 80% capacity of vaccine manufacturing globally. We control 26% of the generic medicine API salt globally. And China slowly had made inroads into our generic medicine sector. We are again getting into the API patent, huge development into the patent industry, patent scenario. Standardization is taking place. I can tell you, I'm very confident that in this Amrit Kal, with the current leadership, will see us as an economic superpower in very near future, and it is in our life that we will see. That's very important through Atmanirbhar and Strong Bharat.
Absolutely, sir. The number of times the finance minister mentioned drones in the speech was really amazing, because that shows how much connect the government has got with the reality. We have two more questions, sir. One on cryptocurrency. One Vigneshwaran, our young friend, asks how they are very much. He says the younger generation is very much impressed by the cryptocurrency called as the digital rupee. He is asking about the tax policies over cryptocurrencies. Again, Anand Narasimhan has a similar question on cryptocurrency. He says that currently it is taxed at 30%. And how is it going to pan out when the government launches the formal digital currency in 23? So this is one, sir. And the other question is, our friend Mr. Saravana Kumar has a question on the status of the bad banks and the implementation of the bank mergers in future.
Okay. Very important question. I did not cover this because it's a slightly bigger subject, and I have been working with the standing committee on cryptocurrency. I tell you two basic points. Those Vignesh and Anandji and other listeners, it's an important question. Thank you for asking this. What currency is never to be considered as an asset class. We should understand this basic philosophy. Currency is a medium of transaction, and if you consider it as an asset class, it is not correct. Cryptocurrency at present, the way it is moving in globally, is being tried to be put up forward as an asset class. I would request all my friends, I know this field very much. As Kanak Sabapati ji said, I was on the board of a nationalized bank. I was on the national president of the National Stock Exchange Association's member. I know this market. Currency should never be used as a asset class, and cryptocurrency is being used as an asset class, which is a false and speculative elements are there. One thing. Therefore, in this budget, the government has said that only those cryptocurrency which are having a profit, capital gain based on transaction. You are investing some amount, then selling the currency at a higher amount, that profit will be taxed at 30%. One thing. No, when the government has announced that we will come out with a digital currency, it is quite different thing. We should understand currency and crypto. Those people who are marketing cryptocurrency, crypto is an algorithm. Those from the IT sector must be knowing. Crypto is an algorithm. It is a blockchain technology which we are encouraging. 9 departments together have come together under MIT, IT Ministry, to develop and improve blockchain technology. Use it in fintech, use it in health chain, building health chain, use it in other various chains, insurance chains, etc. Crypto is a very important technology. It's a blockchain technology. We will promote them. We will use them. Currency has nothing. It is also using the algorithm, but cryptocurrency are two separate things. We will promote crypto, but cryptocurrency has another problem is, I'm not saying that we do not support. We are not going, government has said that we are not going to ban cryptocurrency. And there is a separate bill which will bring out all the legal aspect of the cryptocurrency. But the cryptocurrency is another aspect which cannot be used as a medium of transaction in the country because it is using a distributed ledger technology. And there is no centralized clearing entity in current scenario of what you call as a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, etc. What the digital currency does is does away from this, and not no centralized entity for clearing. Because if there is no centralized agency in a clearing mechanism, then lot of illegal money, drug money, at foreign money, which can create black money into the system, can come into this system. So we are promoting digital currency, which will use crypto, which will have all the aspects of no doing away with the physical currency, but it will have a centralized Reserve Bank will come out with digital currency, which will have all the benefits of digital currency. It can be used for transactions, etc., online transfer, etc., and it also has a feature that it can any point of time convert it into physical currency. So those who are using crypto as an asset class, I request them not to get with it's a speculative element. Only that part is being taxed, where you will use it as a, because this crypto will, I think, I'm not very I cannot commit on behalf of the government, etc., at this point of time, but I don't think this cryptocurrency will at any point of time, like Bitcoin, etc., can be made as a medium of transaction, because you cannot have both things, as an asset class value and as an transactional value. So this thing I would like to mention on this. On bad bank, etc., already the government has capitalized the banks. Two banks were there for mergers. Disinvestment is a major area where this budget government is working on. Air India has been uh, this disinvested, and I can go on many points on disinvestment, but BPCL, other another company has been disinvested to Tata's. Other more companies are there on the pipeline of disinvestment, but I would underline under the disinvestment, which has been in today's paper also said in the Business Standard, and I had been also taking that for disinvestment for us is not a resource generation mechanism, revenue generation mechanism for us. The disinvestment is to bring efficiency in the capital utilization, public capital utilization, and taxpayers' money into the system. Bad bank, NPA recovery, etc., are going fine. IBC is strongly taking impact. Asset management company has been formulated, and I think certain more changes are in the pipeline for IBC, but it is robust infrastructure for NCLT is required. One bank are now strongly capitalized, and the pandemic has not been very harsh on the bank asset as was expected. So this year, I think more banks will go for privatization, disinvestment, or mergers, and bad bank and AMC will take up its work on a fast basis. Implementation is one area where we put a lot of effort. One point I would also like to mention is about the aspirational district initiative. We had identified for it is also important for rural economy and agriculture sectors. We had identified 115 backward districts where the government department, particularly collector and DM, were made responsible that the 7 social welfare scheme, the department collector will have to identify people who are eligible for benefit of receiving benefit of these 7 government social welfare schemes, and he will have to make point to connect them to this welfare schemes in the backward 115 backward district, including Har Ghar Jal, etc., etc. What I would like to say here is it has been said that 95% of our objective in 115 district of connecting people to the welfare scheme has been completed. It's a very important factor, and now we are putting it further down that in this 115 district, aspirational blocks will be identified. So one district, if it has 10 blocks, we will identify which 3 blocks are backward, and that focus will go to further down to that blocks. So aspirational district will also catalyze growth in the country.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, again, Anand
Can
Subramanian.
we, क्योंकि it is people must be tired, so we
Okay.
will also have, they can, I'll just give you my, you can note down my Twitter handle.
Yes,
All
sir.
of you then can connect. I am very active and answer those.
Yes, yes, yes.
Gopal, Gopal, Gopal K, Krishna K for Krishna K, Agarwal, Agarwal. Huh. Yeah, thank you. Gopal K Agarwal is my Twitter handle. Anybody can join, follow, and put me direct message or open message. I will respond to them.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Sir,
you very much.
sir, we would like to introduce you to the YM people who are again a startup. Recently, Mohanji Bhagwat, Amit Shah ji, all of them have used their platform,
Acha.
and it's an attempt to decolonize technology, and it's an Indian effort, sir. So we request your support. Drupad is
Yeah,
one of the founders of YM.
okay.
Namaste, sir. Can you see
Namaste,
me?
Drupad.
Uh,
Yeah,
Sir, you might have to maximize screen on the bottom
okay.
side,
Where?
right hand side bottom corner. You
Acha.
can maximize the screen from there. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Acha, it's
Namaste.
good. Huh?
So I'm Drupad Vipat, basically a swimsuit from Ujjain. I
Okay.
completed
Ujjain.
my Ji.
Acha, I am from Khandwa.
Acha, okay. Arre, that's great, sir. I have taken down your contact from Jaganji. I'll contact you. We'll
ठीक
meet in. Right now, I'm based in Delhi, only in Green Park.
Okay.
I'll contact you. Thank you.
So wonderful, Professor Sir. Wonderful, Gopal Sir. So maybe a few words from you.
Yes. Yeah. And thank you, Agarwal ji. Thank you. One important aspect that we noticed during the last few years with regard to budget presentation is, earlier whenever presentations were made, um, many of the panelists in TVs would be foreign analysts, that too connected with stock markets. Nowadays, they have all disappeared from the scene. So this is one important development that's happening. Outsiders are not coming now and giving us jnana, advices. So this is one good thing that has happened. And with regard to our friend's question related to empowerment of women, I remember Jagan, that finance minister mentioning vision for Nari Shakti. I remember one more point that this particular year, during this coming year, one more crore number of people would be provided with this free gas. This is an important
Yes, yes.
aspect, empowering women at the lower levels. So one more crore is added to that Ujjwala scheme. And with regard to Tamil Nadu, I wanted to mention that always helps us with coordinating IECC activities. In fact, he is a major